Shares of Curaleaf soaring after the Massachusetts-based pot giant acquired cannabis oil manufacturer Cura Partners, which owns a big marijuana product brand called Select, in an all-stock deal nearing $1 billion. Curaleaf executive chairman Boris Jordan gave his take on the deal on Squawk on the Street today.
Well, it's bringing together the two largest brands in the United States. On the East Coast, it's Curaleaf. On the West Coast, it's Select. Select is the largest distributed wholesale brand in the country. It's kind of like buying Coca-Cola 30 years ago for $1 billion. The combined companies have a market value of over $6.5 billion. That's today's price. And it will have 2018 revenues of $205 million, which makes it the largest revenue company in the world in cannabis.
More than $6 billion worth of big pot deals have been inked this year, and with so much wheeling and dealing in the space, we thought we'd get our cannabis king, Tim Seymour, to lay out what the next big pot deals could be. He's over at the Plaza to break it down. Tim.
Yeah, hey, Mel, high times in the cannabis space, for sure. By the way, whose CEO we have tomorrow. So, okay, this deal buys Curaleaf. As we talked about, this is East Coast, West Coast rappers getting together. Again, you've got Massachusetts-based Curaleaf, who's all over the East Coast, getting together, the biggest West Coast play. I don't need to get into that. Great deal for those guys. Remember what we had 2 weeks ago? Again, this was Canopy buying acreage in the U.S. This was the key to this deal is this defined the structure in which Canadian players might legally be able to get into the U.S. market. How about Harvest? Remember the deal these guys did. Ultimately, these guys, again, Steve White, been on our show. We talk about how these guys have been growing quietly. They ultimately team up with Verano. This is a big, big multi-state operator. It's a land grab, he told us. The Cresco Labs Origin House deal, this was a very exciting deal because, again, this brought together one of the biggest multi-state operators with arguably the biggest distribution company in the space in a world where brands matter. If you ask every one of these companies, that's what they've been doing and what they've been working on. They've been building brands. So let's look at some of the charts of companies that might be in play now, not necessarily to be taken out, but also might be feeling some sense of urgency. Hey, what are we doing? Aurora, one of the big Canadian LPs, which has had a pretty nice run, certainly come down off the highs. And you can see a case here where some people have been just generally trading out of the Canadian names in favor of the U.S. These guys filed a $750 million shelf registration about a month ago, which has people saying, hey, when are they going to do something? Here's somebody else to think about. If we look at the next chart, we have, there it is, Afria, another one of the big Canadian names. Now, we remember back kind of last year, this was a case where this company was in some trouble over the perception that they were buying some bad assets. There were some inside deals. Whatever went down, the bottom line is this is still a massive player with good assets and producing assets. What are they going to do? They've been kind of topping out here also like some of the Canadian players. Question is, how do they take the next move higher? It's probably through some acquisition, or certainly people might be taking a look at them. Then let's look at GTI. We've had Ben Kovler on our show. These guys are arguably one of the best run U.S. multi-state operators. They certainly made a push into Barney's. That's a brand play, but I would not argue that's a massive strategic play. It's just a company that certainly knows how to extend their presence in a brand. So the real question here is, folks, what's really going to be the next move in a sector that absolutely is consolidating right now?
So, Timmy, you mentioned East Coast, West Coast rap, and obviously at its height in the mid-'90s,
Tupac,
it kind of culminated in the kind of Biggie, Tupac sort of thing.
Yeah, buddy.
Is this thing headed in that direction? There seems to be a lot of positive sentiment here, a lot of combinations, but a lot of turf wars too, right?
Look, the good news here, and if you listen to Boris Jordan, he talked about a company that's going to have combined sales of the two companies of $220 million. You're starting to get real critical mass. That's what these guys are trying to do. So, yes, you're finding, if you notice a lot of those deals we looked at earlier, there was strategic positioning. Either there was a geographic fit that made sense. Either there was a distribution fit. There was a combination of partners that have been good dance partners. And make no mistake, every one of those companies we've mentioned have all been rumored to be with the other one. There's been all kinds of mixing and matching. It's happening now. It's exciting. It's why the U.S. multi-states, I still think, are the best place to play.